Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm so thrilled you're joining us because we are unpacking a truly fascinating philosophy today.
We really are.
Yeah, it's from the ACTIQO podcast, specifically from their Parenting Decision series. And our mission for this deep dive is to completely pull back the curtain on the hidden modern realities of youth sports.
Which is a massive topic right now.
It is. And if you're a parent or an aunt, an uncle, or honestly, if you're just like insanely curious about modern family dynamics and how these societal norms shift right under our noses, this is going to hit incredibly close to home for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're tackling a question that so many people quietly ask themselves, but they rarely say it out loud in the bleachers. What is the actual real cost of keeping kids in the game today?
It's a question carrying just a ton of weight. And to properly set the stage for you, we really need to look at the broader context of this ACTIQO philosophy.
Right.
They previously tackled some heavily debated topics, like the sheer volume of extracurriculars kids are juggling.
Which is a lot.
It's so much. And that incredibly thorny issue of when it actually makes sense to let a child quit something. So today, the focus shifts gear. We're moving away from the how many and the when to stop, and we're zeroing in on the intense ongoing investment required to maintain this lifestyle. It's about taking an unfiltered look at the reality of that commitment.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you look at the generational shift in how we approach childhood play, it's pretty staggering.
It's night and day.
Right. A generation ago, the concept of youth sports was just straightforward. You had a couple of local practices a week, maybe some orange slices at halftime.
The classic orange slice.
Yes. And a very simple, predictable Saturday morning game down at the local park. It was just a slice of life. But today, it's the whole pie.
The landscape has completely transformed. The modern youth sports machine has evolved into something incredibly demanding. We aren't just talking about local recreation leagues anymore.
No, not at all.
The standard expectation today so often involves travel tournaments, private coaching, and specialized clinics. We're seeing year-round training instead of seasonal play.
Right. There is no off-season anymore.
Exactly. There's the expectation of new, highly specialized equipment every single season. And perhaps most drastically, we're seeing entire weekends completely monopolized by bracket play. It's a fundamental shift in what it means to be a quote-unquote sports family.
And look, it's so easy to sit here and sound critical of all that, but I want to make sure we balance this by acknowledging why we're all doing it in the first place.
That's a vital point.
Because none of these things are inherently bad. Sports can be an absolutely incredible experience. They build confidence, they teach teamwork, resilience, and, how to lose gracefully.
Which is a huge life skill.
Huge. They give kids a highly meaningful goal to work toward. When you see a kid score that goal or help a teammate off the turf, you totally get it. You understand exactly why parents dive headfirst into this world.
Which is exactly how families slip into these massive commitments without realizing how much the investment has grown. Think about the psychology here.
Okay.
Confidence, teamwork, a strong work ethic. These are core developmental milestones every parent desperately wants for their child. They're incredibly powerful motivators.
Yeah.
So when you see your child gaining those traits on the field, your natural instinct is to nurture it. You want to provide more opportunities for that growth to flourish.
Yeah.
So you agree to the elite travel team.
Right.
You sign up for the private pitching coach. It happens incrementally. The intention is purely positive, grounded in those very real benefits, which is precisely why the sheer scale of the commitment can really just sneak up on you over a couple of years.
It totally sneaks up on you. And that brings us to the first really obvious hurdle we have to talk about the financial toll.
Yes.
Now, we all know travel sports are expensive. I don't need to explain to you that league fees, gas, and new bats cost money. But it's the compounding manner of it that's wild.
It never really ends.
No. You have the league fees just to get in the door. Then the constant equipment upgrades because kids grow like weeds. Then the travel expenses. And let's be real about the travel expenses for a second. We're talking about spending $400 on a hotel room 2 states over just to watch your kid eat cold French fries on the bench while it rains.
What's fascinating here is how quickly the financial aspect becomes secondary.
Really? Secondary?
Yes. The financial burden is undeniably significant. But the realization for most parents is that the money isn't actually the biggest cost. The deeper, much more impactful investment is the time.
Ah, the time.
The financial aspect is just the most visible metric on a spreadsheet. But the invisible metric, the hours in the car, the logistical gymnastics, the mental bandwidth required to orchestrate it all, that is where the true toll is taken.
Just picture the logistical nightmare for a second, right?
Yeah.
You've got weekday practices that completely obliterate the concept of a relaxed family dinner. You've got weekend games that eliminate any chance for a quiet Saturday morning where people just sleep in and eat pancakes. Suddenly, a simple, supposedly fun activity takes over your entire life. Your whole family calendar is hijacked by this one pursuit.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we can see how this dynamic shifts the entire foundation of family life.
How so?
Well, an activity that started as a fun diversion becomes the central organizing principle of the household. It shifts the family dynamics from a balanced life where there's time for varied interests, visiting extended family, or just unstructured rest, to a life strictly dictated by an athletic schedule.
Right. Everything revolves around the game.
Exactly. The family unit effectively becomes a support system for the team's schedule. The gravity of the household revolves entirely around practice times and tournament locations.
Which naturally leads to the sunk cost fallacy, right? You've spent thousands of dollars, you've given up your weekends for 3 years, so you feel like you just can't step back.
It's a very real trap.
But eventually, almost every sports family hits this critical tipping point. It's that moment when you look at the hijacked calendar, look at the exhaustion on your kid's face, and you start asking a very heavy question. Is this activity still worth it?
Right, but evaluating if it's worth it requires a massive shift in perspective. It's not a financial calculation. You can't just look at the dollars spent versus the hours played and find an answer.
Because it's too complex.
It's fundamentally an experiential calculation. And the framework we're exploring today lays out these incredibly practical diagnostic signals to help parents figure out what's really going on beneath the surface of the daily grind.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure.
Isn't part of the draw of sports that we think pushing through exhaustion builds grit? Like, it's a Tuesday night, it's cold, nobody wants to go to practice. If I let them quit or pull back just because they're tired, aren't I raising a quitter? How do we separate standard tiredness from actual burnout?
That is the crucial distinction. And it's exactly why we have to look at the child's emotional baseline rather than just a single Tuesday night.
Okay.
The first signal to look for is their initial anticipation. Is your child actually excited to go?
That makes sense.
Not are you excited to watch them, but are they independently eager to get their gear together? That initial energy before the activity even begins is a major telltale sign. If you are constantly dragging them to the car, that's data you simply can't ignore.
That makes a lot of sense. And I imagine the second piece is about whether they're actually getting anything out of it developmentally. Like, are they learning and improving?
Exactly.
Because if they're just showing up and going through the motions, or if the coaching environment isn't fostering actual skill development, then what are we doing here? The massive investment of time and resources really comes into question if there's no trajectory of personal growth.
Precisely. It isn't just about physical presence, it's about engagement, which leads directly into the third signal. How do they look when it's over?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Do they leave practice energized? Now, obviously, they're going to be physically tired after running drills for 2 hours, but we're talking about emotional and mental energy. There's a profound difference between a satisfying, good tired, where they're chatting in the car about a great play they made, and a soul-crushing, depleted tired, where they just stare blankly out the window.
Oh, I love that distinction, good tired versus soul-crushing tired, because that soul-crushing exhaustion is usually the precursor to active burnout. And burnout isn't just a lack of enthusiasm, it's an active aversion. It's a negative return on the investment. When a kid is feeling burned out, all those positive benefits we discussed earlier, the confidence, the teamwork, they actually begin to erode. The activity is no longer serving its primary purpose. It's just a source of stress.
And that's when the sunk cost fallacy becomes truly dangerous. Parents might think, well, we paid for the elite league, we have to finish strong. But if the child is burned out, the cost to their well-being is far too high.
Yeah.
The emotional signals from the child are far more important indicators of an activity's true value than the monetary cost. If your kid is excited, learning, and emotionally energized, then driving across the state and eating those cold French fries might actually feel completely worth it.
Right.
But if they're burned out, it doesn't matter if the league was free and the field is right next door.
That is such a good point. So what does this all mean for the parent in the thick of it? When you're just trying to get the cleats tied and get out the door, it's incredibly hard to see the big picture. And this brings us to the core philosophy and the sponsor behind this entire approach, ACTIQO.
Yes.
That's spelled ACTIQO, and it's pronounced ACTIQO. They've built this structured framework to help families step back and actually evaluate these activities without the emotional baggage.
The ACTIQO method is brilliant in its simplicity because it forces you to look at the whole picture. They break the evaluation down into 4 distinct pillars:
Hmm.
money, time, energy, and enjoyment.
Okay, money, time, energy, enjoyment.
By separating the investment into those 4 categories, it completely prevents families from getting tunnel vision. As we've discussed, it's so easy to fixate solely on the money. Or, conversely, to ignore the massive time drain because the child seems to be enjoying it on the surface.
Let's actually walk through what that looks like in practice. Imagine you decide to track these 4 pillars for, say, a month during a busy soccer season. You start actually writing it down.
Which is key, writing it down.
Right. So the money is obvious. You lock the gas, the tournament fees, the quick drive-through dinners because you didn't have time to cook. But then you track the time. Not just the 1 hour game, but the 30-minute drive each way, the required 45-minute early arrival for warm-ups, the post-game team meeting. Suddenly, that 1 hour game is a 4 hour commitment.
Exactly. And then you track the energy and enjoyment pillars, which are highly subjective but vital. You note how cranky everyone is on Monday morning because the weekend was so packed. You observe whether your child is actually smiling during the games or just looking to the sidelines for approval.
Oh, the looking to the sidelines thing is so real.
It is. When you rigorously assess all 4 elements over a period of time, you gain a truly holistic view of what an activity actually demands from your family and what it genuinely provides in return.
And when you start tracking it like that, clear patterns emerge. It isn't just a vague gut feeling anymore. You can actually see the reality of the situation in black and white.
Yes, the data speaks for itself.
You might realize that, hey, this local rec volleyball league clearly justifies the investment. It's low cost, low travel time, and the kids' enjoyment is through the roof. It hits all the marks. But then you look at the elite travel soccer team and you realize it's visibly draining way more time, money, and emotional energy from the family than it's giving back in enjoyment or development.
Having that clarity is incredibly empowering. Spotting those patterns makes these incredibly tough emotional parenting decisions so much easier to navigate. You aren't guessing anymore. You're making informed choices about your family's bandwidth. And for anyone looking to really dive into this method, you can learn more about their tools and approach at gettactico.com. It's a fantastic resource for cutting through the noise.
It really is. And it's interesting because once you establish that baseline of what your family can handle, it naturally leads into the next big question. The ACTIQO team actually teases this at the end of their discussion, foreshadowing what might be the single most contentious debate in modern youth sports right now.
Oh, this is a big one.
Do kids actually need travel sports to succeed?
It's the ultimate fear-based investment, isn't it?
Totally.
The anxiety that if you don't secure a spot on the elite travel team by age 9, your child is going to fall permanently behind and miss out on future success, whether that's high school varsity or college scholarships. It's a powerful narrative that drives so much of the behavior we've been discussing today.
Oh, absolutely. It's heavy, and we could probably spend another hour just unpacking the psychology of that fear. But before we get totally sidetracked by that upcoming debate, let's synthesize the main takeaways from what we've unpacked today.
Good idea.
What we've really learned is that youth sports can be an absolutely amazing formative experience for kids. The confidence, the teamwork, the resilience, it's all real and it's all valuable. But like literally any massive commitment in life, they're only successful when they truly add value to both the child's life and the family's overall ecosystem. It has to be a net positive for everyone involved.
That's it entirely. It's about the holistic health of the family unit, not just the athletic progression of one child. You have to ensure the tail isn't wagging the dog.
Right.
And before we finish up today, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over.
Ooh, okay.
We spent this entire deep dive looking at how we evaluate our children's sports.
Oh.
We're talking about rigorously auditing their extracurriculars for a return on investment in time, energy, and joy. But what would happen if we applied that exact same ruthless ACTIQO audit to our own adult commitments?
Oh.
Think about it. If you track the money, time, energy, and enjoyment of your own social calendar, your volunteer commitments, or your weekend obligations, how many of those would survive that kind of scrutiny? Are you stuck in your own adult version of a travel sports league, drained and burned out just because you feel like you can't quit?
Okay, that's going to keep me up tonight.
It's a challenging thought.
Evaluating my own time, energy, and enjoyment with that same lens is a game changer. What a brilliant way to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's always a privilege to explore these real dynamics shaping our lives with you. Keep asking those hard questions, keep evaluating what truly matters to your family's ecosystem, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive. Take care.